Hello, Wolfpack. Bitcoin. We've got a descending wedge formation on Bitcoin, as you would know. In my past 5 videos or 4 videos, I've been talking about a lot, and that's because it's the major thing that's happening on the shorter to medium term scale. Been forming since mid-October, and we're coming towards a potential breakout point now. However, we have, as outlined in my last video, seen a rejection from that breakout point, and we're currently just kind of riding the top side of it. As you can see, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, 6 candles testing the top of it, unable to break out. And we saw a massive bearish engulfing candle on the last daily close that was quite red. And we saw a little bit of, increased volume on that drop there yesterday as well. So look, that's a rejection. That's a clear rejection. We've rejected from the 9 EMA 4 consecutive times in a row as well as the top of that wedge formation. So that's a clear rejection. So what we can expect now on Bitcoin is a return to the 40k region. As to whether we drop below 40k, because usually, as you would know, or as you might know, after you see a rejection but top, the next logical step is testing the bottom. However, the bottom is below our major support zone, and so I'm not going to go ahead and predict that. I'm going to predict that we're going to see that 40k region play out again before another potential swing upwards, and we might break out that time. If not, then we will test the bottom, and by that time, the bottom, by the time we get there, will be down here at like 36k. So, look, we're probably going to break this wedge to the upside at some point. It's just as to whether it will be a meaningful break or not. That is kind of the larger question here on Bitcoin. And these rejections haven't been promising. It shows there's an extreme lack of buying pressure, even in these low prices that people keep claiming, right? There's a massive lack of buying pressure. We didn't really have these kind of problems in prior times testing this price spot. I guess we did in September, okay, but I guess we have to kind of admit as well that September was entirely different. Right now we've only got exclusively this green support box as our support. In September, we also had the bull market support band, right, which is one thing, but it's also one of the most major support zones you're going to get in technical analysis, specifically on Bitcoin. And so the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA together, which is the bull market support band, as well as that 40k region, is a lot more supportive than just the 40k region to support, and I hope people would understand that. And we can see that throughout the entire drop here in September, we were seeing descending volume, and the move was very weak. We're not seeing that on this move, right? We're not seeing this. In fact, on this move, it's quite different. We're seeing every single rally we've seen on this move downwards has been very, very low volume, and so the market dynamic has completely changed in September. You also have to remember as well that in September, and by the way, I predicted this September drop. In September, a lot of people were going by the cyclical theory still and saying that, hey, the 4-year cycle suggests we're going to be topping out in December or January or whatever, okay? And September is always a red month, or typically a red month. Red September is very, very, very common. And so when people said that, we're going to go down in September, and it actually played out, people were very confident that we were going to swing to the upside. I think something like 9 out of the last 11 Septembers, we've tested the bull market support band on Bitcoin from the top side, and we did that again in this September. So the buying momentum was there. People were very confident we were going to hold the line, and we did. And that worked out pretty well. This time, that same confidence isn't there. Okay, we haven't, maintain some of the critical supports we had in September. We haven't, still got some of the uptrending lines. We've basically lost everything except for the 40k region, and we're not looking as good at all. And so, I suppose to compare the market environment now to what it was in September is completely foolish. You've got a wave of retail investors who no longer believe in the 4-year cycle theory, of which in September they were basing their whole, kind of strategy upon. They were basing their whole strategy upon that, hey, altcoin's going to go parabolic in January or December. And that's not the case anymore. Right now, I think a lot of people are deterred from the market. There's been too many corrections. The market's been too choppy. The entirety of 2021 has ranged between, 60k and bloody 30k. That's a whole year of ranging, year and a half almost. And so, well, not year and a half, actually, sorry. But, people are getting sick of it. And retail investors, understandably as well, are getting very sick of it. And they're exiting the market, as you can see by Google Trends. If you go in Google Trends, you type in the word Bitcoin, we're at abysmal levels there. We're at all, lows we haven't seen for 2.5 years. And there's clearly a complete lack of interest in Bitcoin right now. And so to compare this state in the market right now to September just seems completely abnormal to me. I don't see how that could be a logical comparison to make, unfortunately. What I would be more likely to compare this state of the market to is the May to July period, right? This extensive kind of consolidation in May to July. That would be the more likely comparison I'd be more willing to make. However, even then, I think you're stretching it a little bit. I don't think it's very similar at all. I think it's more similar than September, but I don't think it's very similar at all in terms of structure anymore. But that's essentially what's happening with Bitcoin, right? We've rejected from the top of the descending wedge formation, and so the next logical step is to come down to 40k, and if we can hold 40k, well, we'll swing back and probably break to the upside. If we lose 40k, we're obviously just going to go down and test the bottom of the wedge at around 37, 36, whatever that may be. And so, it is a bit of a critical spot. If you remember, I said when we were testing the top of that wedge, we've got about a 30 to 40% chance of breaking out to the upside. Okay, obviously, this is a game of probabilities. I wasn't 100% confident. However, I favored a downside push, and we have had that downside push. And so that's why caution is always the number one thing you need to be doing, right? You need to be taking caution on every single action you take in this market, because nothing is guaranteed at all. It's basically common sense. I saw this descending volume coming into the top of the wedge. It looked less and less likely that it was going to break out to the upside, and it did not. And whether we break out to the upside now, tomorrow, next week, is a different question. But the point is, you want to be waiting for that break to the upside, not only for your financial health, but also for your personal health, right? Your mental health. Because if you bought into Bitcoin back here on, January the 11th, and you were, assuming we're going to break to the upside, which would have been a semi-logical assumption to make, then now what would happen is you didn't wait for confirmation. You bought in literally 1% lower than you would have if it broken out, and you were just too impatient to wait, essentially. And now you've had the emotional stress of 7 days of waiting while your bag is at a loss, right? So it's not only financial, it's also emotional. If you don't have the emotional tolerance to sit on your hands for 7 days while the market is on a knife's edge, then you shouldn't be investing without confirmation or trading without confirmation. And that's what I try to tell people over and over again. It's not just about the finances; it's about your mental health as well. If you're not in a good mental state, if your psychology is not functioning properly, and you're not thinking properly, your mindset isn't right, you're very, very likely to make bad decisions. And that's another reason to wait for confirmation. When you look at everything in hindsight and you look at it from numbers and statistics, it makes perfect sense what you should have done and what you should do. But you need to take into account the human element, because we are all humans, right? However, looking at a different chart here, we can see, and this is a different perspective here on Bitcoin that my friend Megawell Crypto has brought up quite extensively, that I brought up occasionally, but I haven't brought up too much. I think I'll bring it up again now. And basically, this is an uptrending line on Bitcoin. As you can see, it's held, or hasn't held, actually, it's broken, but it's been tested since that October-November period. Was tested here. We saw some fake outs below it, not many daily closes, only some daily closes here in July on that last little drop down, which I would basically call fake out. And we saw a couple more tests throughout this entire region here, right? So it's pretty clearly a pretty prominent line. We have lost that line, and usually when you lose a line like this, what you need to be seeing in order to confirm it's lost, right? You don't have to see it, but is you see a retest of the bottom of the line and then a rejection downwards. And I think that that's definitely a possibility, right? So if we do break out of this wedge formation, right, we'll see a retest of this red line, which will bring us up to about 48k, which you guys will remember, 48k is our critical blue resistance line here. 48k is also coming up to the bull market support band. It's also at the Gaussian channel, and it's also at the 50-day and the 200-day SMA. So 48k is a major resistance in terms of dynamic support, and it's got this resistance line there, and it's a resistance line in terms of price static support. So look, 48k is a very important spot. In order to be bullish in the market again completely, I want to be breaking 53k. If we can't break 53k, the next logical step in terms of a longer term scale is a slow descent to this green line here, this 200-week SMA, through which I think we'll be reaching that in November this year or around that time. And I've made predictions on that in the past. I'm not going to do it again. It will take too long. So November 2022, unless we can break 53k. But I just want to say 48k is a very important line as well, and some would even argue that we need to break 48k to be bullish. I would say that's a little bit too optimistic. I say 53k. We could pretty easily break 48k. That's only 15% away. I think that we need to get a little bit higher than that in order to be bullish in the market again completely. And 53k makes perfect sense because of this left shoulder here that topped out at 53, and we have 53 here, 53 here. 53 here, 53 here. It's a very critical level on Bitcoin, and getting above that would flip that entire construction, and we can start making new highs again. So 53k is a critical breaker. 48k is very important according to this resistance line, according to static and dynamic resistance zones as well. And that's what I've got to say about Bitcoin right now. So essentially, my prediction, I suppose, would be that we're going to go down to 40k. We're going to bounce around for a bit. At 40k, we might have another opportunity to bounce up. If we do bounce up, we'll get rejected at 48k. We might go to 53k and reject from there. If we go above 53k, I'm bullish, right? And if we get to 40k and we drop below 40k, my next target would be 36 to 37k. And from that point, I'm pretty sure we just go straight to 30k within a couple of months, or a month probably. So rewind that if you want to see my predictions again. I could have explained a little bit better, but I've ultimately kind of described it pretty well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.